Hello, everybody. I hope you all are having a beautiful Friday. Why am I streaming at 11 p.m. Central Time? Well, because I can. I think that should be the simple answer. I don't know. I kind of have some excess energy. It was a long day at work, and I probably drank more coffee than I really should have. So while I wait to that for that to run off, I just figured I'd come on and say hello to everybody, especially since I do know I have some viewers outside of North America who maybe aren't on normally when I'm streaming. So figure that, maybe talk about some housekeeping, a couple things. Hey girl, do you want to be picked up? Want to say hi to the audience? Do you? I don't want to be picked up. I'm just playing Diablo 4. The new season started, which I actually think is just substantially better than the first season, which sucked. It's kind of mindless button mashing, but I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it quite a bit. So let's see here. General housekeeping. General housekeeping. So I think in the new year I'm going to try to do some more crossovers, collabs. Maybe start trying to reach out to people and trying to get on. I should have some more time to devote to the channel uh, as in the new year. As you may or may not know, I've been doing my master's degree for the last 4 years, and that will be finished next month, hopefully, unless I fail my last course. But I've been doing a coursework based master's, so um, I've been doing one course a semester for the last like 3.5 to 4 years. Um, and I'm just finishing that off now. So that'll be good because that's a lot of money and it's a lot of time. And but I always said that I would get my master's degree at some point, for no other reason than my father got his, and I kind of wanted to follow in his footsteps in that regard, at least. Uh, I think I've made it pretty clear on this channel. I love my father. He's a great man. I'm kind of I feel I'm blessed compared to a lot of people in these circles that like I complain about my parents being boomers and stuff, but it's really just supposed it's more affection than anything. I love my parents a lot. I grew up in a great household. If I ever seem just extremely emotional or defensive of the traditional family, that's just from experience. Like my family is like center right by Canadian standards, but having a father who worked for a living and a mother who largely stayed home with the kids and worked part time, I don't know if I would be like as functional as I am today without them. So I always tend to get very emotional about that kind of thing. Rain is currently rubbing up against my leg because I just showered and she's trying to resent me. Um, so yeah, that's been going on. So I'll be finished that soon. I think I'm gonna message Dave and see if I can go on the distributist because I went on that a long time ago. I also need to apologize to him because I've been a bit of a dick to him over the years. Um, Granted, a lot of that happened like during a very dark time in my life, but I always felt I should apologize if I was kind of aggressive towards him or kind of a dick towards him or something like that. But I know the friends I've made out here tend to be pretty big fans of his, so hopefully we'll get that done. So let's see here what else is going on in the world. There'll be some more snake inning episodes. I'm just waiting for something else to kind of happen, but it's pretty clear they're trying to throw Zelensky under the bus. So that's going to be the new series. It looks for the moment like the UCU is just kind of over. Um, I might cover it again. I might do some more like UCU videos, but if you notice, the last couple haven't really been that humorous. It's just there hasn't been the same level of just total delusion that we had previously. where like they thought that they were gonna like reach Vladivostok in like a month or something like that. That level of insanity is just not really there anymore, so it's just kind of more depressing now. The stuff we have is mostly like just brutal conflicts, throwing more and more men into the meat grinder against Russian defenses. Just this war dragging on and on and on. So we haven't had anything like insane like the Prigozhin mutiny or stuff like that recently. So all the insane shit is happening in Israel. As I like to say, uh, the Ukraine war ended the day Hamas attacked. It's like everything changed the day the Fire Nation attacked. Everything changed the day that Hamas attacked. The Ukraine war just ended that exact day. It's over. It's Jover. We can't reference anything that happened before that particular date. Let's see here. That's not bad gear. I'm gonna, I think, with that. When I was playing Diablo 4, I played through the campaign as the Necromancer because that's my favorite class. But I've done that a couple times, and I've been playing as the Sorceress. I know you can play as either gender, but I kind of feel like the Sorceress is the Sorceress, and she really needs to have. I just think she should be female because that's what she was in Diablo 2. So in Diablo 2 goes. I think people are a little bit unfair looking back on it to Diablo 3. I think Diablo 3 had a lot of problems with it. My main issue with it is I liked the gameplay. I just thought the storytelling kind of sucked, but the storytelling in it was better than the storytelling in this game. The storytelling in this game is pretty atrocious, pretty heinous. Let's see here. Yeah, I've tried a couple different builds with the sorceress. I just don't find the lightning build very good. I do like fire build a lot, to be honest. If only because I think the hydras are really cool. Also, just having a firewall as kind of your base offensive skill, I think is kind of neat. I mean, as you can see, it's pretty effective. That reminds me, after this, I need to go and do the capstone dungeon to unlock nightmare mode. But yeah, I think Diablo like 4 has gotten progressively better as the things come out. Or just as yeah, as it's developed. I feel like the first one, like first few versions of it, were just super buggy, like to the point of almost being unplayable. Like I did like a short video where I was petting Rain. I just complained that this game was a buggy, shitty mess, and it really was. Unreleased, this game was shit. Like sometimes quests would break. I couldn't. Enemies would just like you would lose their hitboxes and just get frozen. It would disconnect constantly. The lag was truly horrific. It was just not good. This game was not good at all on release, but it's definitely gotten a lot better. Um, Story analyst of the Diablo series. I was thinking of doing it sometime. I might just do one like where I watch the cinematics from Diablo 2 and just kind of comment on them because I kind of regard Diablo 2 as having probably the best cinematics of any video game. They're just so good in so many levels, plot wise, musically wise, atmospherically. They're just great. Marius is a really interesting main character. Um, the whole Wanderer plot's cool. I didn't think Act 5 was that interesting. I didn't really get what was going on there. But the first four acts were just awesome. So, yeah, Diablo's pretty awesome. but it's just it's kind of gone downhill over time, like a lot of things. Okay, we're gonna salvage that. Let's see here. I did finish all three playthroughs of Armored Core 6. I'm kind of happy because a friend of mine who normally just blazes through FromSoft games like there's no tomorrow is actually struggling really hard with Armor Core, and it kind of makes me feel a little bit better because I found it pretty rough. It wasn't like I find the bosses in Armor Core to be much harder than the bosses in Dark Souls, although the levels are much easier. So it is what it is. Let me think. Okay, let's just disable this. There's so much just useless loot you get in this game. The vast majority of it is just completely like garbage. Let's see. I do wonder if Incinerate's any good. It was good in Diablo 3, but I kind of like Firewall. Oh, let's see here. Increase damage to set of damage types. Just don't know what that means. Maybe I'll try a Frost Sorceress at some point, but yeah. The thing that I find really weird with Diablo 4 is there's no way to like change the appearance of your character. What's my favorite form of exercise? I am pretty overweight. I'm gonna just come out and say it. Um, I definitely need to lose a substantial amount of weight, so I am. I do like walking though. I generally on weekends I normally go for an hour and a half walk, uh, and during the week I try to get in like about half an hour to an hour a day. I just really enjoy it. Can put on a podcast. I just it's a good place to think. You can call someone on the phone. It's just something I've always enjoyed a lot. So yeah, I'm not gonna like go into cope mode and try to pretend like it's not my fault. Um, uh, like I'm not morbidly obese, but I definitely need to lose like probably 30, 40 pounds or something like that. I am 6'1", so I am a big guy, but yeah. A lot of it is just when I like stopped living with my parents, it's like you're just too lazy to cook for yourself a lot of the time, so you wind up just eating shit that you probably shouldn't. And for me, it's mostly just snacking because a lot of what like I make for myself is actually not bad. But it's just chips, cookies, donuts, that kind of thing. But that kind of tends to be my issue. Part of that, in my slight defense, part of that is a bipolar thing. One of the symptoms of bipolar is just an extreme craving for carbohydrates, like an irrational craving for them, and it's kind of rough. But like I said, I'm in a better place in my life now, so just something to work on. That's going to be the next step. I'm I'm on a waiting list for a Tim Hortons. It's not even so much donuts; it's more just like cookies and chocolate and chips and stuff like that. Um, so, but I'll get to work. I'll have to work on that once again. I think the fact that I'm not like in Cokesville and trying to pretend that it's not my fault, I think is good. Um, I used to be like that when I was younger, but nah, I need to address it. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so yeah, I talked to my doctor, and are you still selling that book? Okay, I'll put No Chance back up. It's a great normal dude strength and conditioning. So when I was okay, so I had actually gotten down to like 210 pounds or something, and I was putting on I was like working out 3 times a week and putting on muscle. But then COVID happened and I got fired from that job, and I admit in depression I kind of ate myself. I dealt with my depression by eating a lot during COVID. Um, and where I am now, there just isn't a gym like really within walking distance. I kind of live in a bit of a food desert, so maybe I'll get some weights at some point. I think the first thing is just to focus on losing some weight. Um, if I can get rid of some pounds, then I'll try to do some lifting again. I was actually having some progress, but to be fair to me, COVID shut down a lot of people's life plans. But it actually was kind of positive in a sense because for my master's degree, they forced you to go to the exams like in person. You couldn't do them online. So because of COVID, they had to offer them online, and that saved me like $1,000 because I per course because I had to fly to like various parts of Canada for them. So that saved a lot of money, so that was good. But yeah, so No Chance. I can sell No Chance again. See, it's this like really long, kind of boring story. Basically, my Amazon account got hacked, and I spent about a year, like half a year, trying to get it unlocked. And I took down my book in case I got permanently locked out of my account, and I was unable to take it down in the future, so I didn't want it just sitting up indefinitely. I also kind of, I don't know. I don't know if regret's the right way. I kind of feel like a lot of aspects of it were kind of like goofy and not particularly good quality. And I don't know. I just I don't feel as positive about it as I used to. I mean, my positions haven't really changed or anything, but I don't know. I just don't think I really the quality was the best for that. But I'd always wanted to write a book, so I wrote a book. Um, Maybe I'll just make it available at some point. I'll just put up a PDF or something on uh, Google Drive. But, so that is what happened with the book situation. Damage from your pyromancy skills has a 15% chance to restore mana. That actually sounds pretty good. Okay. Everyone has to start. Yeah, I started from the bottom. What was that Drake thing? I started from the bottom, and he had like the picture of the Illuminati owl, that kind of thing. But no, I'm in a pretty good place in my life at the moment, considering. So I had to move to like move a fair bit, but overall, steady work, pretty good job. So living on my own, have an apartment, have money in the bank, doing a lot better than a lot of people in my age group are. I can't believe I'm turning 33 in the near future. God, it seems like only the other day I was graduating university at like 24. Or actually, no, it more seems like that was a lifetime ago. Yeah. Oh well. I mean, I think red versus blue summarized how to feel about aging better than just about anyone else. You have to look at it and you have to go, were you smart 5 years ago? If the answer is no, I was retarded 5 years ago, then you're doing pretty well. You're doing pretty well if you can look at back on yourself 5 years ago and go, I was a mess. I was cringe. I I really it was rough, man. It was rough. And I think if you can go back and take a look at that, then I think that that's a good place to be in life. Just have to try to be grateful. You just kind of have to try to be grateful for what you have. It's like the most generic, like, co self help lame advice possible, but it is very true. Um, if you kind of want to be, if you want my advice on like how to be happy in life, it's maybe once a day, maybe before you go to sleep, just think to yourself what you're grateful to God for. Um, what you appreciate, even if it's something small like you don't have cancer or you have a roof over your head, you're not starving, you have a family who loves you, and you just have to say that's more than what a lot of people have. And I don't know. Once again, maybe that's a very generic statement, but sometimes the generic statements are correct. Sometimes the final red pill is that cliches are ultimately a good thing. So, from what your viewpoint, what makes the West becoming more irreligious? For to answer, widespread contraception. Um, maybe that is kind of a flippant issue. But honestly, and I was like this too, most anti Christianity at the end of the day, you have some people who have like an actual principled opposition to it, where they'll say like it's weak or that's like promoting immigration or stuff like that. Or they'll have a genuine philosophical difference, but honestly, a lot of it is just I want to coom, and Christianity's telling me that I can't coom, and I don't believe in God because God's telling me I can't jerk off. And that might be flippant, but if you really look at it, I think it ultimately this is Diablo 3. Sorry, Diablo 4. I think that ultimately is what it actually comes down to in a lot of cases is um,
I need time to prepare
religion. Yeah, Cole, just to say, like, I'm not good at this. I'm far from perfect. But that is, I guess, kind of my advice that I should probably think more. It can be rough, especially when you see a lot of the horrific stuff that's going on in the world. But no, like, I think part of it is honestly, like, once widespread contraception became available, people could just coom as much as they wanted with no consequences, basically. And Christianity told them that that was bad and that they shouldn't be doing that, and a lot of people didn't like that, so they that happened. Also, it's just part of it is also in a modern industrialized society, children go from being an asset to being a burden, particularly with how high like having kids sucks in a lot of ways from at least from an economic perspective. Housing's super expensive. If you're in the US, schooling's expensive. All the other stuff you have to buy for your kids are expensive. Wherein back in the day, you could like your kid would do chores around would do chores around the farm or something, and housing was much less expensive than it used to be. Now it's just kind of a drag. Now it's just kind of it's very rough. Um, And it's just I there's a guy on Twitter who made one of the greatest posts of all time. I'm socially volcel but fiscally incel, which is a reference to like how like libertarians will say I'm socially liberal but economically conservative. But you can also interpret it as like they're voluntarily celibate because their religious beliefs tell them that. But they're an incel in the fact that their economic situation doesn't allow them to get married and have children. Um, so I think it's kind of that. It's contraception combined with there being disincentives for children. Um, trying to think what else there is. I think if you want to look at like when irreligiosity really started, I feel like the 30 Years' War did a lot of damage to Christian Europe and to kind of the Christian identity of Europe because so many people died. It went on for so long. Like the reason why I think Czechia or Bohemia is so like irreligious today is because of just how bad it got right during the 30 Years' War.
I lack the needed
So I don't know
knowledge.
if that's really like the root of it, but just off the top of my head, that's kind of a thought. Like honestly, back when I was anti-Christian, like part of it is like Christianity was telling me that you couldn't jerk off anymore and that was bad. But and I was kind of in Copesville about that. But, at the expense of being slightly gross, the advice to me that a friend of one of my best friends gave me that helped me to get past that particular vice is that jerking off is the most pathetic reason to go to hell possible. Like you go to hell and Mao's like, "Oh, I killed 50 million people in the Great Leap Forward." Stalin's like, "I had the NKVD execute a bunch of people." Augustus the Strong is like, "I had 200 bastard kids." And like, "What are you here for?" And it's like, "I jerked off to traps," and then they just make fun of you. And all the other damned souls will just mock you, and that'll be part of your punishment. For all eternity is getting made fun of the people who committed cooler sins than you. But it is very true. Um, but it's I think like decades or centuries from now we will look back and we will realize just how horrific the impact of pornography has been on our society. How mentally, physically, socially damaging it's been. And I say this as someone who like occasionally still gives them the temptation to look at lewd stuff, but it fucks with your brain so bad, particularly when you're developing. I do think it makes it difficult for like. I think that's part of the reason, honestly, why millennials have such a problem having normal relationships or what would be considered normal relationships. Is pornography has just fucked with them on so many different levels. Maybe not even something specific. It's just objectively, I think, really bad, for especially for kids in the developing mind. That's always like the thing people will say. Well, you're complaining about sex and stuff, but not violence. But it's like, like most violence in media is very abstract. Like it's not something you would run into on a daily basis. Like, are you really going to be like in a Mjolnir armor suit running down the hallway fighting um, Covenant like elites with plasma? Like that's just not going to happen in your daily life. Are you going to see women? Are you going to see men? Are you going to possibly be in like sexual situations? Yeah, that's going to happen. that's going to happen on an almost daily basis. A lot of the violence in like video games and media is just super abstract. It's like this game, for instance, that I'm playing now. Okay, there's a lot of like blood and stuff blowing up, but this is not like this is so abstract. It's not really. You get what I'm saying, right? I'm sure. I'm sure people understand what I mean, but no, I think people will look back and just say like, "What were we doing? Why did we let our kids watch that garbage?" And that's a position I've come to. Excuse me, sorry. As I've gotten older, it's kind of funny because like some positions, there's always kind of the narrative that like some that everyone was going to grow out of like boomer con positions. Something else I changed my opinion a lot on over time is weed. I used to kind of be indifferent to it, but the experience of going through university and seeing the sheer number of people who have destroyed their lives by becoming potheads made me a lot more anti-marijuana than I previously was. I knew a lot of guys, very smart guys, people who really could have made something of their lives, and they just were complete potheads. They were just high all the time. They didn't go to class. They didn't graduate even high school. They just came from like rich families, and their parents just bought them weed, and it was just sad. It's sad to see the waste of human potential that that causes. But
It is done.
sure if it was ultimately like if ultimately science, like the scientific revolution and that kind of thing, was or mass education was really what caused the decline in religiosity. I honest to God think a lot of it is just contraception. Do I plan to do a stream with Serp Kerp, Fritz Imperial, or Classical Theist? I do streams with Serp Kerp periodically. Serp is just very busy. Now, I had held off on mentioning this until he mentioned it in a video because I respect his privacy, and if he doesn't want to talk about his personal life, it's not my job to. But he brought this up in a recent video, so I don't think it's an issue. He got married recently, so he's been kind of busy with that, so he hasn't had as much time to do other stuff. So God bless him. His wife is a wonderful girl. Um,
I can break that down.
I got to meet her when I visited him in the summer, and I'm very happy for him. I think he'll make a really good father someday, and yeah, I just wish them all the best. But no, I talk to Serp all the time. With Fritz, I'll get Fritz to come on at some point. Classical Theist, I need to mend bridges with at some point. I kind of got into a bit of a beef with him because he was like he wasn't just Nick Fuentes' defender. He like was Ethan Ralph's defender. So like we got into a big fight because I thought he shouldn't have gone on the Ralph retort the first time because I just think Ralph is a scumbag and I don't think anyone should like help him make money. Um, and kind of was on board with like the Ralph redemption arc and stuff like that. So I just also he's just very loyal to Nick, and he just kind of won't tolerate any criticism of him. I'm not as like much of a hater as Fuentes as I used to be. A lot of my resentment of him just comes from the fact that I think he could have been truly great. I think he could have been like a real political force, like a real positive political force for change. I thought his like initial optics were good. I thought his planning was good. His organizational skills were good. The messaging was good. And then he was just his immaturity and retardation just destroyed what could have been a very successful political movement. And it's just kind of more that I'm sad about it. And I kind of resent the fact that he had this opportunity and he just fucked it up. Um, to be fair, Nick was probably not old enough to really be leading a political movement. Uh, but I don't know. It's sad. It's sad. Cause like I was on his side during like the optics war. Um, Actually, Fritz and I are watching Yu-Gi-Oh GX together, so we're having a lot of fun with that. We watched a couple shows together. We watched Eden of the East together. We watched Berserk 96 or 98 or whatever it was with another friend of mine, and we watched
How can I help?
Outlaw Star. So yeah, I know Surf's just been busy with his job and like I said, his wife. But like I said, she's a nice Catholic girl. So this is Diablo 4, but no, no, it was really nice because of the summer I went to go meet Serp in Montana, and he is one of the like nicest, sweetest I think people I've ever met, and it was good to meet him in because I consider him a very good friend, and it was nice to kind of hang out with him in person. It's really nice, like when you meet people you know on the internet, and they're like just that they're the same, or they're like you just kind of like it's a little awkward because you're not really used to just like looking at them as like physically, but it's nice if you meet them and they turn out to be basically the same person you've known for years. So
Out of mana. Once
that was a good experience. I'll have to go back to Montana again when I have a bit more time. Diablo 4 is not good, but it got better once they patched it. I find it's a good. So there's some games that I play while I'm watching anime or watching a movie or something, um, and it'll be this, and then Paradox games are also really good for that. So I can kind of play this in the background while I'm doing something else because I'm a millennial and I have to multitask. But so yeah, no, I'll get Cirque to come on again sometime. I bullied him into doing a Five Nights at Freddy's video because why not? The weirdest. So Serp is a weird fucking dude. It's funny because I told him that like once. I just said, you know, Serp, you're a weird fucking guy, and he's like, this is the greatest compliment anyone's ever made, and he gave it to me, and he made it like his he made his Twitter status. But the thing is, he just is a very like normal, mentally stable person who's into just the weirdest shit, like just obscure death metal, body horror, Godzilla, random shot on home like horror movies,
you saved my life.
like exploitation films, just like the weirdest stuff, cryptids. But he's an incredibly like kind of grounded person. If he was like a schizo or a okay, so the last thing's live stream is behind a paywall, so that's going to be released in December, but it's behind his. I forget where it is. I think it's going to be on Gumroad. I had thought it was going to be a public stream, but it wasn't. So maybe I'll ask him if he wants to come on my channel. I'll have to start getting some of that stuff up and running. But I've just been kind of lazy lately. I don't know if I'm lazy. My sleep's just been really, really bad. Like my sleep's never been good, but I've had cases where I go to bed. No, not my paywall. His paywall. Um, I don't have anything behind a paywall. Um, to be honest, I have things on Odysee that and Bitchute that I don't have here because of copyright and because some of it was a bit edgy. But I don't have a paywall. People throw me a couple bucks on Patreon. Sometimes people super chat me, and I used to get ad revenue. It's a lot of what I do is like limited or no ads nowadays, but it's just ad revenue in YouTube has gotten so bad over the years that it's stayed pretty stable, but it's something. Why do I attract helpless boomers at work? Because I'm a nice guy. I don't know if that probably doesn't always come across because I'm kind of a lot more forward, but people generally like me. IRL. I met Serp the first time in person this summer. I went to Montana and I hung out with him a bunch and some other guys. Um, but no, like people generally speaking like me in person quite a bit. Uh, even even if I am kind of shy and I can be a little I awkward until I warm up to somebody. But I'm actually pretty good at dealing with people. I just did, like I said, I just kind of have social anxiety. So I tend to be someone that people go to because I tend to be very helpful, and I tend to be pretty easy to like guilt into doing things because I legitimately do want to help people, and I don't want there to be kind of bad blood. But it's just boomers are just kind of insufferable. Also, it's just ranting about stuff is fun. I mean, life isn't. It's not about winning or losing. It's about
Out
complaining
of
on the
mana.
internet, in the
Once
words
again.
of Winter Starcraft. So, I mean, that's why the internet exists, so people can complain about stuff. Sorry about that. I had sparkling water earlier, so. But no, my sleep's been like really fucked lately. So, like the other night, I went to bed at 8 and got up at like 5. And just there's been days where I've gotten like 3 or 4 hours of sleep. So I'm getting my doctor to try to like book me in at a sleep clinic. Because if I have sleep apnea, maybe I need to get like a sleep machine. Um, if I can like get something to kind of help my sleep quality, I'd imagine that would help with a lot of things in my life. I imagine that would also help with like my diet because I'd be probably less reliant on uh, sugar to kind of provide me with energy. What makes serial killers increased in the West and notorious in the 19th and 20th century? Honestly, I'd say mostly just literacy. There's a couple different things. One thing is literacy in the mass media, wherein you really get these things to be like widespread and it gets built up and stuff. When the FBI kind of developed their profiling, stuff like the FBI, particularly under Hoover, was very much into style over substance.
I need
And a lot of the like the stuff that they cover in Mindhunter, like dealing with these serial killers, cracking these big cases, making these like almost super villains for the FBI to take down. is kind of a PR thing. So you have the general media that has is looking for sensationalism. You have the FBI who's very eager to promote themselves and to play ball. You also just have the reality that people move around a lot more. Like most societies didn't really have police forces until the 19th century, because they largely didn't need them. Because if somebody died and the community was normally like small enough that people could generally figure out who had committed the crime, and so it wasn't really necessary to have any kind of formal police force. So I think people moving around a lot more, it being more possible to be kind of an isolated person who doesn't really interact with others. Also, just if you're a serial killer, like, it's very hard to find somebody if they're just random. Like, if you just go from one city to another in no particular order and just, like, kill people, and there's not a pattern, like, that's very difficult to deal with. And if you, like, randomly space your pattern, your kills out. Like I do wonder how many like just unsolved murders are from serial killers, or are from people who we aren't even like sure if they were serial like some serial killer that we've just never even really heard of. The other aspect of it is just the definition of serial killer is just very like specific. Meow, meow, meow. I don't know. Rain was just saying meow meow and then just didn't do anything. Um yeah, so serial killers are very like so most mass murderers are like gangbangers. Like let's think about this for a minute. They're like mob enforcers, uh gangbangers, cartel soldados. Those are like like most of the people with really high body counts tend to come from that kind of background, but that's not considered serial killing, despite the fact that they are killing people they are killing large numbers of people. So I do think it is kind of biased the way it is kind of dealt with in that respect, where it very much lends itself to this idea that it's become more prevalent. If we're gonna talk about mass shootings, that's a whole other can of worms. Um, I mean, like, why do I think there's so many mass shootings now? I do think there is an issue with mental illness. I think there is more people who come from broken families, who suffer in an abusive school system, who are abused by psychiatrists, who lack any kind of purpose or direction in life, and they kind of deal with their rage and their angst by becoming a school shooter. I think that is part of it. Um, I also think like there probably is some truth to I don't know some of like the Alex Jonesy stuff that it's there's something in the water, like there's estrogen in the water, or weird stuff in food, or kids are on weird drugs, or things like that, or it's like pornography's fucking with their brains, or like there's a lot of like various things I could see being a like key factors in why there's so many school shootings and why people are uh like just
Here
so
are the
fucked.
remaining constituents.
A lot of people are just fucked these days, and it's very sad. It's very sad. Let's see. Need two more packs of eternity. Um, no, I need two more skulls, so I will do cat ranking best and worst to pet. I don't know like what you're like. What would I even say about that? Like, Rain's a good kitty to pet when she doesn't get like Rain can get petting aggression sometimes, and that can be a bit rough. But overall, she's a pretty friendly kitty. I guess I would say. Screwed that up. I need crown. I need cup. Oh no, I keep screwing this up. That's why you shouldn't play Diablo at like 12 a.m. But it is what it is. Okay. Okay, so that one's not working at the moment. So I have to remove a crown in favor of a skull. One, two. Yeah, you raise a good point, Aline. It is kind of a status thing. Where like you become a cool, like people always say with like Elliot Roger that if he hadn't have killed himself, he would have gotten so much, like so many women would have just thrown themselves at him because he's like a mass murderer and because he's like an edge lord and stuff. He wouldn't have had any trouble like having sex with like all kinds of women. Um, so it's kind of the irony of his suicide.
That cannot be salvaged. I'm gonna go. I think play around with my outfit a bit. I really like the outfit I have for my necromancer in this game. But it's weird that I can't. You can't like change your character's skin tone or anything in this game after you've rolled, which I just find really weird. But it's just me. Probably use new pants. Not much, is it? It seems your prayers have been answered.
Oh, it's not very good. Couple more lanes.
Not much. It seems your prayers have been answered.
Two ranks of meteor. Unfortunately, I don't use meteor with this build.
Oh, bad. It seems your prayers have been answered.
Yeah, that's not very good either.
Until next time.
A friend of mine tried to go to Urban Dictionary and create school shooter as being a slang term for like a dude who's cool. Is like kind of the white equivalent of gangsta, which I thought was pretty funny. Unfortunately, they told him no. I don't get why you can't change the body type in these games. Like why you can't. I don't know. I just want to give them bigger boobs. I'm a simple man. I really like this one set of armor they put in. I think it looks really cool. Um, the marrow. It really reminds me a lot of like the Phyrexian, the white Phyrexian armor. I think it looks pretty cool. Actually, I'm gonna switch to that. I think. Let's see. Let's look at the different helmets. The fashion souls in this game is actually pretty good. There's a pretty decent variety of stuff. I kind of like this mask. I think I'm gonna go with that mask. Oh, let's see here. Oh, that's a cool looking one. Morrow Cadius. I kind of feel as a sorceress, it should be more something a little bit more like a skirt. Let's see here. Oh, hey settlers, gamers rise up. Anyone else ever wanted to just go to like a store or something and just start screaming "Gamers Rise Up" like as autistically and obnoxiously as possible? It's always been something I've wanted to do, but I have too much common sense for that, unfortunately. Awoken. Oh, there we go. That's not bad. I don't want to do that idea. I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. You should become a live streamer, like an IRL. You should become an IRL guy and in real life streaming and just walk around and yell "Gamers Rise Up" at people. Um, there's a couple ones. There's "Gamers Rise Up." There's Harambe. What's the other ones? Gamers Rise Up, Harambe. I forget what the other one was. Maybe it was ethics in video game journalism. I don't remember. Gamers are the most oppressed race. I could yell that, which is true. Gamers are the most oppressed race. Those look okay, maybe. No, I want that to be. Actually, I kind of like that. That's kind of a neat. The orange doesn't look terrible. Have everything be the Imperial Red. Let's see. Oh, the red looks pretty cool, actually. I think I'll go with that. Okay, there we go. Looking pretty snazzy. For health and high test, yep. Rain, what are you doing? What are you doing? Here. What is it you want? Pension? Do you want food? I don't know. There you go, girl. You're just being a cat. Cats are weird. Cats are weird creatures. Let me see, because there is the Knuckles. Let me find the Knuckles. Find where the Knuckles Rouge sleep thing, which is. Yeah, there we go. Love this meme. Just because it's Knuckles and I like Knuckles is awesome. I like Tails more than Knuckles, but I like Knuckles quite a bit. Here's a meme. Remember, Kings get 6 to 8 hours of sleep a night. Anyways, guys, I think I'm gonna end it here.